What's going on, everyone? It's Bales, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy round review. Another solid week, 2183 in round 4, 4,113 round ranking for the week, and put me up to 3,271, which is up, I've got it written down here, so up to 2,575 spots. So another really good improvement of the week. It was a great weekend of footy, obviously a gather round. Went to all 5 of the Adelaide Oval games, which was really enjoyable to go and meet a heap of the year legends out there, and also obviously the live shows on the Friday. So shout out to Hef and Jake and D Selves from Hatch as well, just for running a great show. Great to be part of. Obviously me and Tim, we're in a blessed position to be making a podcast, obviously us two, and obviously myself with the YouTube stuff, with a little bit extra and stuff, and being involved in such a great community, not only the content creators, but also all the legends that come up and said hello and just want to chat fantasy. It's just great to talk fantasy really with anyone. So shout out to everyone that got to meet over the weekend. It was some good games of footy as well, Adelaide Oval, which was really good to see as well. But going through the team, we'll go through sort of the +3 and -3 here. So +3 is pretty easy. It's going to go this man, Big Bont. Big Bont is back in a big way. 149 points, top scorer of the round. He looked really, really good, and he's going to be a guy that I'm sure we're going to talk about tomorrow in the trade talk video, because he might be brought in by a few coaches. Haven't even looked at any of the trade ins or outs this week, but I'm sure that with a big score like that and sort of a break even now, back up at, what is it back up to now? Yeah, 105. So he's not going down like a great deal unless something drastic happens, but he looked really good. So very happy with a big score from Bont. Looked fantastic. Played full-time midfield. Didn't look hampered at all by any sort of ankle issue or anything like that. So he was good, and very, very happy to watch that on the Saturday night. -3, a few poor performers. I'll give it to James Jordan with a 60. Hasn't scored over 80 all season. Obviously, most of us will be trading him this week, so we didn't even get an 80 score from him there. What did he get? Yeah, a lot of 70s there, back-to-back 60s. It's not the most awful pick. Still made 112k, so still solid in a forward line where we didn't have many options. It's still fine, but just a bit disappointing that he couldn't put up some big scores and get up to that 600, 650k, which we probably wanted him to get to before he hit his bye. I did give the -3 on the pod last night to Massimo D'Ambrosio, because JD gave his -3 to James Jordan. So, but yeah, Massimo was not great as well. Disappointing from him, along with the Colin McKercher there. But let's get stuck into the rest of the players. As always, before we do, make sure you do leave a like on the video. It does really help the channel out. So if we can get to 50 likes on the review, on the round review, that'd be very much appreciated. Also, make sure you do subscribe to the channel. We're only 48 subscribers away from hitting the 2,000 subscriber mark, which would be a massive milestone. Doesn't feel like that long ago. We only passed 1,000, and now we're sort of creeping right on the door of 2K. So if you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button below and help us reach that 2K milestone mark. That'd be very much appreciated. But going through the team, Harry Sheezel continued his 120-plus run with another 121 score. He's pretty much showing, I think, he's the number one defender, definitely at the moment. And he could he might. It'd be interesting. So let me know in the comments below. Sheezel or Dacos, D1 at the moment. Who do you think is going to finish D1 at the end of the season? That'd be interesting to see what you guys think, because Sheezel's looking very likely that could be him this year. But obviously, Dacos had his tags out the way, poor score out the way. He could easily average 150 on the way home, and Sheezel could drop a little bit. But I would be intrigued. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Lockie Whitfield, 106. Pretty happy with that. Went off in the second quarter with a neck issue. Shivers down the spine, and I'm sure all of you guys that are Whitfield owners out there had exactly the same thought. We've seen this movie before. Whitfield with some type of injury, going off and get subbed out, and he's missing a few weeks. We've got to trade him. But luckily, that was not the case. He came back on. What did he score? And obviously got the 106. So, no, what was his time on ground? 72%. So, obviously a fair bit lower than what he normally plays. Still very good day at the office. So, 29 disposals, 7 marks, 106. That would have been a bit higher if it wasn't for that limited time on ground. Probably would have been near a 120. And look at this, St Kilda this week. We have seen what defenders can do against St Kilda, so it could be a big score for Whitfield coming this week. Hayden Young, 108, had a quiet second quarter, I think it was. Still good to see him get to the 108. He was on 110, but then bloody Jimmy Dud decided to take a handball away, which meant it was a 108. But still very happy with that now. That's now back-to-back tons for Hayden Young there. Yeah, look at that, back-to-back tons, which is great. Port, Tough game, but he did score a 114 on them in the preseason. The tough games actually do suit a guy like Hayden Young better, so he could actually put up another pretty good score today. So that Port game isn't scaring me as much as what it would for other players. Elliot Yeo, back-to-back scores of 108 now, looking really, really good. He's making some pretty good coin now as well at, like, worst case but best case. He's averaging 96, and that puts him among those sort of top sort of few defenders there, which is great. So break into 51, 45k this week. He's still going to make some good cash, and I'm just going to go positions and sort by average here for defenders. So he is obviously got Sheasel, Whitfield are all ahead of him. Is Young ahead of him there? Yeah, Young is. Yep. So that's 3 defenders there. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So he's the 12th highest averaging defender. Obviously, Wiedering's played, 1 game? 2 games, sorry. Both scored 98 in both games. But yeah, he's right in the sort of not too far behind those defenders. So very happy with Elliot Yeo and his performances so far this season. He's looking really, really good. Massimo D'Ambrosio, 55. As I mentioned before, disappointing. His break-even's now up at 68. So unless he can put up another 90 like he did in the first 2 rounds, his cash gen is pretty much stopped now. Obviously, the only thing with him is the fact that him and especially him and Zach Williams, who I'll speak about in a sec, who got 69, who had a bit of a leg concern late in the game. I think he'll be fine by all reports, but just sort of, I guess, keep it on the news for the rest of the week to see if anything else comes out of that. Breaking to 48, his cash gen's slowing a little bit. Still made 20k last week, but we need to see an 80 or a 90 from him in the next couple of weeks to really make sure that cash gen continues. But both these guys here, I'm probably going to hold for the next 2 weeks. Both weeks are best 18, and after those 2 weeks, Nick Martin, Riley Bonner, Matt Roberts, Kyle McKercher, even a Zach Fisher down here, all of those guys are going to get DPP. They're all going to become defenders. So we're going to be able to put Massimo and Zach into, well, trade them to midfielders. So I'm waiting for that. Might even bank some cash next week, do a double downgrade, potentially maybe grab a Will Graham if he has another good game. Might get another rookie if it's a McAuliffe or someone else that comes in, and bank up. I think post my trades I've looked at the moment, which I'll discuss at the end of the video, I'd like 200 and something K in the bank. I'd like to have 400k in the bank heading into round 7 or post then. So heading into round 7. Sorry, got that right the first time. Heading into round 7, because then I can go one of these guys up to a premium midfielder, and potentially I might be able to go make double upgrade if depending on how much cash these guys make and how much cash I've got in the bank. So, but yeah, disappointing for those two guys. Hope they can put up some good scores to make maybe 50, 60k in the next couple of weeks to make it really likely I'll be able to upgrade both. Blake Howes, 30 on the bench, obviously. He's probably going to go for me this week. Obviously, it's back-to-back subpar scores. His cash gen stopped pretty much now, 55 break even. He held price this week, so this says to me that's probably the perfect week to get rid of him. Averaging 54, break even's 55. It makes a lot of sense to go him to Closey this week if you've got Howes. So, yep, that'll be a popular trade. Obviously, Reed didn't play this week. Dawson, 112. I was impressed with the score. The role was frustrating as a Crows fan and a Dawson owner. He went forward pretty much from halfway through the third quarter and the last quarter. I didn't get why the Crows played Laird, Crouch and Berry. Like, why is Berry the sub for 1? But 2, why is he going into the midfield, pushing Dawson forward? It makes no sense to me whatsoever. Surely Berry's not in the team this week. Another poor performance of the Crows. They've got to change something there. For me, Dawson has to stay in there. Does Lairdy go to half back, which potentially that means he's get DPP and become a defender for us, which would be fantastic. But yes, he got a half back. What happens? Does Crouch stay in there? But Dawson for me has to stay in there. Like, it's just, I know his kicking hasn't been what it has been last year and even the year before, but for me he's got to be in there in the midfield. But 112, I'll take that. A VC, I locked it in. And I'll look at all the scores this week. The only one I was really looking at captaining was Jack Steele, which I lost. 19 points. But I probably would have captained Heaney instead, so I would have lost 4 points. So you sort of take the good with the bad there. I'm pretty happy with the 112 locked in as a VC. Bont, obviously mentioned before, 149. Very, very happy with him. It's crazy to think now that he's the 11th highest averaging player with one big score, now averaging 111.5. He's got Essendon, St Kilda, Freo, Hawthorn, Richmond in the next 5. That's a pretty nice run coming up there. I'm expecting a few more of those big scores to come from Bont. If you can afford him, I think he's a pretty good target. Obviously, I'll chat a bit more about that tomorrow, but I'm a very happy Bont owner and don't have to worry about bringing him in. That's part of the reason why I started him. Obviously, I did the same thing with Laird last year. It didn't work. This year with Bont, it wasn't looking great, especially at three-quarter time of the West Coast game, being on 57, but now it's looking a lot better. He scored 195 points in his last 5 quarters of footy, which is fantastic. It's huge. So, yep, I'm expecting Bont to really get going. But what have we learned from this year? You grab Bont at round 4. You don't start for the first 3 rounds, because the last 2 years have been pretty subpar from Bont the first 3 rounds. But no, very happy owner with him. Jack Steele, I keep singing his praise every week. Again, season high score, 131 points. Obviously, great matchup, but it was good to see him cash in on the matchup as well. So that's now 3 scores in a row over 120. He's pretty much as safe as anyone for a captain option at the moment. Giants this week's a little bit tougher, but plenty of games coming up at Marvel as well, and especially after that bye as well, a lot of games at Marvel. So, yeah, very happy with Jack Steele, and he's looking like a top 8 mid. And I didn't know if he'd get back to this 120, but after 4 weeks, he's averaging 120.8. Could he be a guy that goes at 115 for this year? There's a realistic chance he can, and that means if you started him, that's one of those sort of hat-winning, competition-winning picks that you talk about, those guys priced in the 90s that end up going 110 plus in the top 8 mid, and you're getting him at a value price. And Jack Steele at the moment, after 4 weeks, is looking very much like that pick. Nick Martin is another one looking like that, averaging 113.8, a good score of 114 against Port Adelaide in a tough matchup. Comes up against the Dogs this week. I'm expecting another big score from him under the roof at Marvel against the Dogs. So he's been fantastic. I still think you can bring him in if you don't have him. Again, I'll chat about him tomorrow. But breaking to 68, he's shown the goods over the first 4 weeks. 300s out of those 4. That 93 as well, he had 1 bad quarter. Otherwise, he would have had 400s to start the year. He's been fantastic. So, yeah, if you don't have him, I still think you can jump on him. He's looking very good. Riley Bonner, 94. Good for cash gen yet again. An easy matchup, but a difficult ground to score at. 96 average, which is great. Only the 1 poor score to start the year, which obviously the 61 there. And if that was a big score, he'd be over 700k. But breaking into 33, heading towards 700k, hopefully. Giants is a bit tougher. Then Bulldogs a good matchup. Then Port's tough. Then North Melbourne's decent. Hawthorn decent. Freo a bit tougher as well. So it's a bit of a mixed bag over the next few weeks. But hopefully Bonner can just keep churning out these 80 plus scores. Continue to make cash and be a guy that you look at upgrading either to a midfielder or a defender in a few weeks' time, or maybe even closer to the mid-season buys, because he's looking really good. Matt Roberts, McKercher, Sanders, all doing their job. Sanders being the best one out of them for the week, and probably slightly rising above the other two as well, because he's just been consistent. Another 85. He got 84 this week. Got 85 last week. A 78 before that. 68, but that would have been a lot higher if he wasn't subbed out. So he's a really consistent 75 plus at the moment. And yeah, looks a really good player for the Dogs as well. Roberts had to save that score with a 42-point last quarter, but I'd still be holding. He's got a break into 34. He's still got cash to make. And they've got a couple of decent matchups post the bye as well. So I'd be holding on his bye. And then if McKercher, there's a little flag there of only the 50, but it was Lazaro out, meant McKercher played that midfield forward role instead. I think Lazaro should be back this week. Obviously, we'll check the injury reports when they come out, this afternoon. Obviously, at that time recording, I don't have them on me. But if Lazaro comes back in, I expect McKercher to go back behind the ball and sort of continue pumping out like those 70-plus scores like he was in the first 3 weeks. So, yeah, just one to watch. But if he plays that mid-forward role again and puts up another poor score, then maybe it might be a consideration to maybe look at trading a McKercher, but not for me yet at the moment. Jeremy Sharp was everywhere. I was at this obviously right at this game, and I was in the middle of the ground. I was actually on Jeremy Sharp's wing pretty much for the whole game, and he just kept getting the ball. Looked very, very good. Has Port this week in a tough matchup at Adelaide Oval, but then does have the Eagles, Dogs, Richmond, Sydney, but is at the Optus, St Kilda in the 6 games post the bye. So that's a pretty nice run besides Port. I think he's going to be a pretty safe option on field for us, and got still plenty of cash to make there. Jai Clark, disappointing. 35, I thought maybe might have started to tick over some 60-plus scores after that, 76 he got, but back down to his 35, 40 sort of scores. Only 57% time on ground. Again, disappointing because he played 70% the week before. Tackles weren't there again. His break-evens, what is it now? 17. hopefully can get a 60 and keep that cash gen going, but he might not make that much more realistically if he keeps putting up these 30. So, yeah, which is unfortunate for Jai Clark. Moving to the Rucks, once that goes off, there we go. Max Gawn, another 109, just again ticking over these 100-plus scores. It's funny, if you look at it here, sort of subpar score, big score, subpar score, big score, subpar score. Does that mean a big score coming against Brisbane? Tough matchup, but it could be the case. 7-day break. I think that the lowest, he slowed down the second half, but I think that had a lot to do with the fact they only had a 5-day break. I think that going against Brisbane off a 7-day break, back at the MCG, I believe it is. Yep, I think he could put up a decent score. So, yeah, it could be a VC shout for a lot of us out. A lot of us that own him. Obviously, Bunnett didn't play, which meant it was good for the loop. Sherry on the bench with a 102 was very good again. Only the one score under 100, just pumping out these hundreds. He had 58 points, I think it was, or 56 or something like that in the first quarter. Was really, really good. Bit quiet after that. Only the 9 disposals, though. Did have a lot of tackles as well. Plenty of hit-outs. 1-2 against Brisbane. Tough matchup. Pretty happy with that as well. So, I think, Geelong, Hawthorn, mixed bag of the sort of neutral matchups, I think, but his cash gen's going really well. Another 37k made, 65 break even. He's still got a bit of cash to make here as well, and he's pumping out solid scores, so he's been very, very good. Heaney, 108, first score under 115 for the season, but still very happy with the 108 from him. He's on the bye. I'm holding him, and I think a lot of us will be. He's been very, very good and looks like a top 2 forward. Tom Power, 89, 15 tackles was fantastic to see. It was good to see that he had a low disposal game, but was still able to get to a solid score. So 89, still averaging 95.8 for the year. He's still in the top 6 forwards. Whether he can stay there, obviously, for the season is obviously to be seen. I think he can, and he's got cash to make, still break into 46. But yeah, pretty happy with him against Brisbane in a pretty tough matchup. Geelong could be a little bit tricky, but hopefully he can put up a solid score for us as well. Zach Fisher, 83. Good last quarter to get there as well, so that did help, but continued his cash gen. I still think he's a low priority. He's averaging 78. I think there are bigger issues in our teams than Zach Fisher in the forward line where there's no options, but if you don't have any issues, and you could even do a Zach Fisher to a Zorko, it could be a play. If you don't have Flanders as well, it could be a play. But for me, I think he's a low priority to trade out. James Jordan obviously is going. I talked about him before with the 60. Disappointed he couldn't put up any bigger scores, but he did enough, I think. What did he average? 70. He was priced at 45? Somewhere around there. So 25 odd points of upside. That's pretty much what we would want. So it's not a failed pick. It's obviously we're just underwhelmed because we thought he might have been able to go at 75 plus. But yeah, not bad, but he can go this week. Obviously, changed my trades last minute as well. Obviously, didn't get Flanders. I went for Dempsey for the cash gen. 64k, so I'm happy with the call, and I still won my matchup against MJ by 4 points. Undefeated the Content Grounds Cup as well, which I'm very happy about. 4-0. Hopefully, we can continue that against Mitch. So, yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. It's going to be a tough matchup, that one. But yeah, he's going to continue to make plenty of cash. But the most important thing is his high time on ground. Like another 87% time on ground. It was just the marks weren't there in this game. This game did sort of seem to not quite go to his wing a lot, but he still got involved enough, still kicked a goal, still did what he needed to. A 72 is pretty solid. Like he's averaging 79.8 as a forward. That's pretty good. And he was obviously a rookie, so he's going to make plenty more cash. So I'm very happy I jumped on him. And Harley Reid had his best game as an Eagle. Bit stiff to not get the Rising Star this week. I think Ryan Daniels actually tweeted out before that he had the second highest broken tackles in a game ever recorded. And it's his 4th game. So it's pretty impressive from him to be able to do that against Sydney as well. So kick starts a bit more cashed in as well. Break even's back down at 18. If he can put some more 60s up. So he's been pretty safe for a 55, 60. Like, look at that, 55, 56, a 43 against the Dogs. Then a 78. Got Richmond this week. Good matchup and could put up an 80-plus score this week and really continue that cash gen. And I'm glad I held, and I'm sort of glad Lazaro was out because I didn't have to make the decision between Reid and Wilson, because Wilson also put up a 79 and looked very good. Went up 43k. Break him back down at 13, which is good. So hopefully this can kickstart more cash gen. Obviously, as I mentioned before with Jack Steele, the run is a little bit tricky, but he'll be on the bench, or he'll be probably on the field for best 18, but he'll be on a bench past the buys. So as long as he keeps paying cash, that's all we want. Cadman went up a bit in cash as well this week. What did he go up? 34k after 357. So been a pretty solid pick, averaging 53. St Kilda, Carlton, Brisbane, Sydney, tough 4 games for a key forward. So I don't know if there's going to be much more cash to make there. Breaking at 18. We obviously want to start him for that double price rise in round 1 and then 2 easy matchups to start the season. So he could be a guy that I'll look at downgrading next week. He could be the guy that maybe you go put, if Thomas has a decent score, you could put Thomas back here, go get Will Graham, and you've got a bit of flexibility between your defence and your midfield. So, but yeah, Harvey Thomas, very disappointing. Only 15 points. This was the risk with him, unfortunately. Only 52% time on ground. I don't think he'll get dropped, just because he started the season pretty well. They're winning the Giants. I think that they're not going to just drop an 18-year-old after one poor game. If he was to have another poor game this week, then he could get dropped. But I think he's fine for one more week at least. Sorry, I didn't even check his break-even. His break-even's still sitting at 13. So if he pops a 60, he's still got cash to make. It's just if he puts another poor score out, then his cash gen could pretty much be stopped, and he might have to be traded out at that point. So disappointing. Should have gone Gallagher. I had the money there as well. I had 405k or 406k in the bank, so I could, sorry about the yawn. Could have easily gone him last week, and looking in hindsight now, should have, but that's fine. He had the low break even. He was on my bench, more cash in the bank, so yeah, hopefully he can just put up a good score, and it doesn't really matter anyway. So that's how it went. Again, very happy. So I've gone up, what's that, 36,000 spots since the start of the year in 3 weeks. So very happy with that. I've pretty much halved the rank each week. I think I gained another 10 points off of off the top 100. I've still just got to sort of work it out. Obviously, when I listen to Hat Chat Pod, they give the Hat Chase update, which is always good. But I think it was around 10 points I caught up, which I'm actually keeping a note. I was chatting with, obviously, Tim was chatting about it last night as well. We're both keeping like a sort of how we're tracking with the hat. And I gained 12 points post round 2, 11 points post round 3, and I think I gained another 10 or so points this week. So just chipping away slowly at it, slowly getting back towards that top 100. I think this week I need a big week to be like a top 500, top 1,000, even top 1,500 week. Put up a big score in a best 18, maybe gain 50 or 60 points on that top 100, and really put myself sort of right in the thick of it. So if I gain 10 points, the gap between me and the top 100 will be less than 200 points, which is the first time this season it's been there. So obviously just got to chip away. It's a long season. We're only heading up to round 5 now. So yeah, just got to keep chipping away at it. But my trades this week, I did say last week, I didn't see my trades changing, and I don't see them changing unless there is a bullet that comes my way. Hopefully not. We've been, touch wood, pretty lucky so far. We haven't had an obvious trade out besides Lazaro last week, but he was on the bench. So, but at this stage, it will be Blake Howes down to Closey, who looked very, very good. He's got a, let me just quickly have a look at his break even. I think it was negative 22 or something, I think. Yeah, negative 22, 253 is must-haves are hard to say, but he's pretty close to a must-have, I think. With the lack of defender rookies we've been chatting about all season, he's staring us in the face. So I think if you can get him, even if it's a Williams down, I still like the move. So I'm doing that. And then on the other end, that leaves I've got 580 odd K in the bank. I'm going Jordan. Oh, we are actually near the end of the video when I start yawning. James Jordan up to Sam Flanders. So I'll be making that upgrade, which I'll be very happy with. Flanders had a half-back role, looked pretty good as well. So whether that's a good thing or bad thing for his fantasy scoring, we'll have to see over the next month. But Hawthorn this week for Gold Coast, hopefully puts up a good score. And Jordan did enough, and yeah, I'll be able to move over to him. I think I've got over 200k, might be 230, 240, something like that in the bank. As I said, maybe a double downgrade, maybe a Cadman and Thomas go next week for a Will Graham and someone else to continue the cash gen, and then we look to upgrade Williams and Massimo the following week. But we'll have to see anyway. But yeah, they're the trades that I'm looking at doing. And obviously, as I said, I did change from going all the way up to Flanders just because if I went Flanders here this week, I wasn't paying $4.90 for Dempsey this week, which meant Jordan, I couldn't get him up to anyone. I wouldn't have had enough cash, so that's why I ended up pivoting towards the back end of the week. So that's why I did that. But let me know in the comments below your score, your rank, your +3, -3. Let me know all that in the comments below. Also, all your trade questions as well. Put them in the comments below, and I'll get to answering those when I can. I'll also be back tomorrow for the usual trade talk video. So looking forward to that, going through all the options there as well. And then obviously we're back on Friday for the usual pre-lockout chat. That'll be back this week. Obviously we're back. We were away last week. We gather around, but we're back this week for that. And then obviously the round review as well. And watch along on Saturday night as well. So we're back for that as well. So make sure you stay tuned to that. But yeah, make sure you leave a like on the video. If we can get 50 likes, as mentioned before, that'd be fantastic. So make sure you smash a like. It helps out the channel a lot. Subscribe to the channel as we head towards 2K. Let's get to that milestone as soon as possible. That'd be fantastic. Appreciate all the support you guys have shown. Social media links are in the description below, obviously at AEST for a lot of those as well. And we're releasing all of the little videos that all the coaches in the Content Creators Cup have done across all the socials. So make sure you sort of check out on TikTok, Instagram, and even Twitter. I'll be uploading those over the next few days. So yeah, if you're keen to hear what the other coaches think, who will win, Wooden Spoon, their charity of choice if they win. Yeah, make sure you check that out and spread the word about the Content Creators Cup, because yeah, shout out to Tim who is running all that, which is fantastic, and I am just helping out with all that. So beautiful. All right, I'll catch you guys tomorrow for the trade talk video. Obviously have a good night, and I'll see you in the next video. So I'm out. Cheers.